This is Political Analytical. I'm your host, Eddie Hill, along with Rick Warren and Gordon Park. Join us as we give our opinion concerning everything dealing with politics. We don't hold back, so prepare for a no-nonsense approach to the new, and no, we don't care about your feelings. Uncensored and no sugarcoating. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Political Analytical. I'm your host, Eddie Hill, along with my sidekick over here that I have with me tonight. We have Brian Martin Rickerson, the great actor, and who also played the lead role on Death Mask. Death Mask was an awesome movie, by the way. We also have the Vanna White of Paranormal and Political Radio, Rick Warren, who's got the best hair out of all of us. Well, I don't know.
Got the only hair out of all of us.
Okay. And then, of course,
well, he blends in with the background back there.
We've got our stepchild James over here, who has been having problems with microphones completely. So we're going to call him our bald-headed stepchild, since he's like me and has no hair. See, look at that, twins.
I'm not losing my hair. I'm getting more head.
It's not turning gray, it's turning loose.
It's chrome. I don't have gray. I have chrome. That's what I have to tell my kids.
Hey, like I tell everybody,
it's chrome.
Like I tell everybody, this right here are what I have on the top of my head is basically solar panels for an incredible sex machine.
That's right.
So yeah. So in the
over, Brian,
we have Tom Rudisill, and if we say what he said, we'll get demonetized, so we can't say that right now. Darren Wedlock, hey team, what's going on, Darren? We've got Carrie, who's on here, and she says, I'm just going to put that over there. Hooray. And then we have, she also says, hi, everyone. Hello, Carrie. How are you doing? And then we have Tom over here. Hey, quit pumping your ego up. I think he's talking about me. I don't have to pump my ego up, Tom. My ego's always pumped. So, yeah, I just say what other people think. So tonight's topic is going to be pretty cool. And the reason I say it's pretty cool, because we're going to be talking about a lot of things. And some of the things are, sad in a way, but others are also more happy than not. So we have the president who ended up getting taken into the hospital with COVID. And it was kind of a shock to me that, he came down, especially as close as it is to election day. And while he's on the campaign trail, it's that's a really sad situation, him and the first lady being taken to the hospital. What's your thoughts on that, Rick? And what have you been thinking about as far as that goes?
Well, I kind of understand it, and I don't, because he's been in a lot of different crowd situations. He's been in a lot of different working conditions, if we want to put it like that. And he's going to be susceptible. He's going to be susceptible to anybody that has any kind of a disease and or airborne virus, as everybody knows this is. But you're right. It is uncanny that right before an election, he and his wife both, and his team. This morning they were talking about very portions of his team coming down with COVID too.
Right. I did hear that. And then I heard that he could be let out of the hospital as early as possibly tomorrow, which would be a great thing. James, what's your thoughts on all this?
Honestly, I think it's actually a matter of time before he ended up getting this stuff. With all the rallies he's been holding, being on Air Force One and around all these people and everything else. And it's one of his advisors that actually they think allegedly passing on to him. So I think it was a matter of time. But the deal is, he's going to come out of it. They're already talking about Monday. He's going to come out of this thing, out of the hospital, and bounce back, right? So he's going to be able to use that to his advantage. It's kind of like, I'm playing devil's advocate. He's going to be like, hey, so it's not as bad as we thought it was. You know, he can do that. But the left right now is playing on so many things, talking about how, oh yeah, okay, it's karma, you know, the blah 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 blah. It's all this karma shit, you know. So it's a mess. But either way, I think he's going to come out okay. He has the top doctors in the world right now. He is taking experimental COVID remedies. It appears to be working. He does have mild symptoms, but I think he's going to come out of this thing, and he's going to come out strong and be like, hey, look, you know what? It's not as bad as we all is. And moving on, let's finish this debate process and finish this campaigning like we started. And that's the idea. We want to finish this thing like we started, right? And that's personal opinion. I think that's what's going to happen.
Now, real quick, Tom Russell says, I said this 6 months ago to everyone. It's not a matter of if you get it. It's a matter of when. And I've stated before that most of us, if we have antibody tests for the Chinese virus, many of us would test positive. And I thoroughly agree with Tom. I think it's just a matter of time before all of us end up with this thing. You know, it's like the flu or anything else. You know, it's going to either get you or not, you know. And
what's it like down in your area right now, Eddie?
It's actually not too bad. Right now, it's not as bad as you think. There's a lot of places that are opening up. Ryan, what's your thoughts on that, man?
Well, what I want to see is, I like that the president is going to get out. He's going to recover quickly, and I like that he's going to get straight to work when he gets out. My thing is, he's the leader of the free world. He's the president of the United States. I would like to see him. He can work from where he's at. I'd like to see him kind of staying a little longer just to be safe. I can already hear people probably saying, hey, he's getting stuff that we're not getting. And let me just tell you this. I used to be a combat medic in the Army, and I'll say this. It's actually a risk that he is taking experimental treatment. So for that reason, I would like to see him kind of staying a little longer and, just kind of ride it out a little bit. There's no rush right now. In my opinion, you didn't – the debate last time, I think the debate hurt Biden more than it hurt Trump. There's really no rush right now. I'd say just stay in 14 days.
But let me ask you this, though, Brian. I mean, do you think it would be better for the country to see if he recouped from this thing quicker than normal, or do you think he should just stay out of the picture for a little while? And if he did recoup quicker than normal, what kind of impact is that going to have on society?
So that's actually an interesting way to think about it. Honestly, if we're talking like optics and symbolism of like our country, seeing him recoup fast I think that's a very good look. I think it's good for the country. It makes us look strong, makes our medical healthcare system and the way we do business here. I think it makes us look good, competent. Sadly, I think there's those in this country that don't want to see that happen. They don't want to see him recover. They want to see him barking all over the place in pain. And regardless of the pain that brings to his family, people close to him, people he's helped, because you can't say Trump has not helped anybody. I mean, I've heard personal stories about this man giving checks to people in dire need of money who worked for him at Trump Tower. So, and that's just facts. Okay, I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to sit here and just back up everything Trump does. No, what I'm saying is he's a human being. He's got flaws. He speaks like a lot of people do in daily life, but that's no reason to wish death on anybody.
Okay, now real quick, I'm going to go to the chat real fast. Carrie says, we're feeling like it may be a lie, and then he is going to miraculously heal and say, see, it's not so bad. Basically, kind of downplay it. Political Analytical, which is Gordon, he's on here. He says, I think it's going to be a miracle healing and him taking credit for the cure. Tom Rudisil says, creepy Joe Biden figured this COVID-19, picked Donald Trump over him. Then we have Carrie over here. She's saying, not saying it is a lie, not at all, just the healing. Darren says, geez, if I get it, I'll be heading to the Marble Orchid. Nah, I don't think so, Darren. I really don't. There's been a lot of people that have been really sick.
Marble Orchid.
Yeah. And in other words, he's going to be pushing up daisies, you know, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Just like that, man. He has the sexiest voice in podcast. He has the sexiest voice in Darren. Shut it.
Kurt says 2018 Clad X. Tom says, test positive on the COVID test for antibodies. I said most of us will get it and never know we even had it. And that's what I think mostly it's going to happen. I think a lot of us are going to have it and not even know that we've even contracted it or had it or whatever the case may be, you know. I think it's going to be one of those type diseases that are going to show up today, gone tomorrow, or at the very least, it's going to have like minimal symptoms on most of us. Some of us, of course, it's going to react differently with, but I think for the most part, you know, we may end up with the sniffles and think it's allergies, and the next thing you know, oh well, you got full blown COVID, and it just never hit you that hard, you know. And I think that's going to be the big
you got to think
out of all this. And I want everybody to know
I'm not think about it like this.
I'm not just downplaying it, you know, because I know this is something real, but at the same time, I think it affects everybody differently.
I have to wonder sometimes as far as on the age grouping, guys. Here I am, 65. Donald Trump is, I believe, now I may be wrong. I think he's what, 74?
77.
Man, he's
Oh, it might be
77.
Joe Biden,
Okay.
77.
I
Fact check
thought
that right quick.
Trump was 74, but I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's been hailed as being a disease of the younger and the elderly. People Brian's age, all of us. I mean, except for me, I'm 65. I'm getting up there. But it
74.
is a
You're right.
virus. It is airborne, and like me or anybody else that's in an elderly type situation. I'd like to know what's going on in the country as far as where you're at, Eddie, where you're at, Brian, where you are, James. What's it look like down in those areas as far as how is it the spreading going on? How's the recovery?
Okay, so I deal with this virus day in and day out because of the folks that I work with. I can't by law give out names or anything because of HIPAA laws and stuff like that. But where I work at, it's been confirmed 40 plus confirmations on this virus, right? Very close friend of mine, coworker, just passed away 2 weeks ago from this virus, actually 3. And he was just buried Saturday. And really good friend of mine, real good guy. Black guy in his low 50, contracted the virus, and he was put in the hospital, put on a respirator 2 days later, and then 23 days on the ICU and on a vent. Done. Okay. So here's how you have to look at this thing, right? You say it's airborne. It is an aerosol. They're starting to find out it's aerosol. Aerosol meaning that stuff, it floats in the air, right? So if you sneeze on something, it'll settle. After 8 or so hours, it settles. They're starting to think it's aerosol, meaning it's 12 plus hours floating in the air. Okay. So you don't have to actually have a droplet. Incubation, period, not so much incubation, but onset, yeah, could be from 4 to 10 days or 4 to 8 days onset, right? You have guys that are walking out there right now that are asymptomatic, meaning they don't have symptoms, meaning they don't know that they have this virus. Okay, so they're co-workers, they could be you guys up there. One of y'all may have it and don't even know, but you're sitting right next to each other, right? That's the whole problem with this thing is asymptomatic, you pass it on to somebody else. The next thing you know, that person catches it and becomes symptomatic, and then now they have trouble. Symptoms vary. You know, you have symptoms, and that's the whole thing is like most of your symptoms are mild. You have that 90% people mild symptoms. It's that 10% that have that really bad, you know, hey, it's time to go to ICU or it's time to go to the hospital and stuff like that. Those are your guys, right? So this thing with Trump, right? He's feeling mild symptoms. Okay, does that put him out of office and out of the running? Not at all. He has a hotel suite at that hospital. Don't think he don't. So like when he gets transferred from the White House, they have a small room that they contain folks in, and they do emergency medical treatment on that. And they get transferred to the hospital he's in now. And there's a suite that he sits in, and he has an office in there. And in fact, he did a live, basically podcast today from that suite, and he's reassuring everybody that he's okay. The first lady's okay, and he's going to be okay. So they're thinking Monday they want to release him. Now, here's the thing. I wanted to bring this up earlier. So he's doing these experimental COVID treatments. Okay. And we're thinking, man, do you think he ought to be doing this? He is the president and he's taking these experimental treatments and stuff like that. But ask yourself this: does the risk outweigh the reward? Should he be doing these treatments? If he does, is it benefiting everybody else, right? How does the risk versus reward go on these treatments? That's a question I'd like to know.
Rick, your thoughts?
Well, I understand why he's doing it in the essence of saying, I am the leader of the greatest nation in the world. Okay, I get that. I also have to put in here that this is a virus from a high level 4 containment unit from China that escaped. Now we are looking at a high level 4 containment unit virus versus everybody suiting up with these masks and everything. That part I just don't get, because basically you're telling me that a cloth mask or whatever the hell you want to call it is going to stop this baby. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not.
You can smell a fart through you, you're not stopping a virus.
Brian, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it seems like there's so many different medical opinions especially about masks. You got some people that'll say, hey, if 2 people wearing a mask, it's below 0% that even if one of them's asymptomatic, it's not going to get spread. And then I've heard if only one person has a mask, 17% chance. And then I heard if 2 people do not have a mask and they're within about 3 feet, as long as they're only talking for 15 minutes, there's also a very low risk, under 10%, that it'll be transmitted. So right now, I think there's just so many different opinions on what's real, what works, what should be done, to the point where it's just diluting the entire pool of information that we could be using to benefit us. It can be very confusing.
So real quick,
Right. So question on that. If
we got to get some of these out. Tom says, God, most of us are not frightened to death about the reality of living. Otherwise, no one would leave their house and probably go crazy. Absolutely. And then we've got Gordon, who's in the chat, says risk is taking an experimental med. Reward is if he calls it a cure and owns part of the pharmaceutical company. Yeah.
Conspiracy.
Yeah. Thanks for starting that one up there, Gordon.
Yeah, buddy.
So,
okay,
right
let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Ask you a question here, Eddie, real quick. What do you think, and how do you think? My buddy in the chat room just mentioned it there a while ago, and I caught that. How do you think this is going to affect the debates, as far as what's going to happen on the debates and how they're going to go forth?
Good question.
I think the debates are going to go forth. I don't know if the one that he's supposed to have in another 12 days, 10 days, something like that, is going to happen, mainly because of, him having to get out of
process.
Stay out of the limelight for a little bit. I think he's pushing to try and make it happen. I really do. And the possibility is there, but honestly, I think Biden is going to back out because he's going to think it's too soon, and they're going to have to reschedule for another one, possibly. But you got to remember, we're coming up to the end of all this here pretty quick. So he's going to have to really push to get back out there on the campaign trail. But this is the way I look at it, gentlemen. People who are voting Trump are going to vote Trump no matter what. People who are voting Biden going to vote Biden no matter what. I don't think that the few that are out there that are undecided are going to make that big of a difference to sway the votes one way or another. I think what needs to happen, though, is everybody needs to get out and vote. You know, if you're a Trump supporter, you need to get out there and vote. Don't think that it's just going to be, you know, a piece of cake, because there's a lot of crazies out there that don't look at Joe Biden as being out of his mind. And, you know, that's a scary thought. That really is. That's a scary, scary thought, Rick.
Eddie,
Go ahead.
I had a friend of mine text this to me, and when she texted to me, I had to really look at this and evaluate the full meaning of what she was talking about here. And it hit me like a brick when I finally got it all in. It said, your vote isn't a Valentine's Day card. You're not professing a love for your favorite candidate. You're making a strategic chess move on the next 4 years of your existence.
You know, they couldn't be more right, because if something happens, God forbid, knock on some wood, and Trump doesn't win and he doesn't get in, can you imagine the implications that we're going to have, which are going to affect every single one of us over the next 4 years? Can you just imagine what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Prepare to have a lot of your rights stripped. Second Amendment, gone. Prepare to have a lot of things stripped. And,
You know, Beto O'Rourke will be at our house trying to collect our AR-14s.
oh, jeez. You can't even spell AR-14.
Yeah. Let's go back to the chat. Danielle
He's
says,
an idiot.
with Brian, really, how are we supposed to know what works and what doesn't when they feed us a bunch of bullshit constantly? I agree. Tom said,
So that's one thing.
Trump 2020. Darren, he jumps in there and he says, Biden will probably wear his mask through the entire debate. Will look wonderful, LOL. Tom says on here,
Better on Kamala Harris.
there's a lot of cheating going on. We need to overwhelm the cheating and vote. Take your neighbors to your friends, or take your neighbors and your friends, people you don't like, and if they're voting Biden, kick them out before you get there. Just kidding. Now, I don't know if you're kidding or not there, Tom. I think you mean that.
Disclaimer.
Danielle says, yes, hit that on the head. Also says, and replace with Nerf guns. Yeah, replace us with Nerf guns. Exactly. Gordon jumps on here and says, they will strip our rights and call it for our protection. This is serious. Yeah, it's very serious, Gordon. And if they do that and they take away our weapons, it's going to be the same strategy that was used in Nazi Germany right before they started the concentration camps. They made sure everybody was disarmed so they could not fight back against the government. And Kurt says, regardless of who wins, I believe there will be chaos and violence from both sides. Yeah, it's gonna get ugly.
Agreed.
It's gonna get ugly quick.
Can I ask a quick question?
Jump in there.
Yeah. So my thing is, I look at a lot of Democrats want to bring in mail-in ballots, right? They're really big on that push, mail-in ballots. At the same time, the reason why we're wearing a mask and we're doing social distancing and the lockdowns and things like that is because Democrats said this is safe to do it like that, right? But as long as we wear a mask and we social distance, we're fine. So with that in mind, I'm just curious, why do you all think there's a push for mail-in ballots as opposed to actually going to the polls and social distancing while wearing a mask like we were told to? I mean, we were told we'd be safe if we do that. I'm just curious what y'all's thoughts are on that.
You want to jump in there?
Well, it's funny because they say the mask. Yeah, the mask, they say, okay, wear a mask. All right, well, if wearing a mask works, then why do we need the 6-foot rule? If the 6-foot rule, why do we need to wear a damn mask? Which one is it? And I like Dennis Higgins just put up there that talk about destruction of the Democratic Party. No, that's a great idea to do that. I think we need bipartisan. We need the parties to come together. I don't know if we need a total and conclusion of the Democratic Party. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Rick.
I'm thinking that what is transpiring right now is that magicians are very good at the sleight of hand. While you're looking over here at something that is plainly in view and in sight, and they're talking about it as a sleight of hand, something else is going on behind the curtain. And I think that's what we're seeing very collectively from both sides, is the sleight of hand. Is one does not want to tip the other one off too quick or too much as to the actuality of what is going to transpire.
So in other words, don't play your opponent, play the game. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. See, and Gordon was just talking about, not taking Biden seriously. I think everybody should take Biden seriously right now, regardless of what we think he is or how we think mentally incompetent he is. We need to take him seriously because other people are taking him seriously and they're going to vote for him. And we know that. And at the beginning, we could not fathom the thought of anybody voting for that man with his pedophilia tendencies and his lack of
Dementia.
His dementia. I mean,
Cognitive ability.
It's crazy to think that anybody in their right mind would vote for him. But you got to remember, there's a lot of people that their hate for Trump, they would vote for a turd out in the yard before they vote for Trump.
Oh.
So
The things that I've seen, the things that I've heard on my phone, on the radio, across just in conversations, as far as I did not I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I do not like Obama. In fact, I despise the man, okay? But I'm not going to be the one to sit there and say, I wish you were dead. And I've heard that from a lot of people about Trump and First Lady. And to me, that is the most despicable acts of cowardice that you could display toward a sitting president.
Absolutely. Or to anybody for that matter, but especially a sitting president, to sit there and want to wish death upon somebody, it's like, come on. But that's the kind of hatred these people have.
And you got to remember their supporters. I'm sure you guys saw that story. Guy had a Trump hat, right? Wasn't bothering anybody, wasn't even being loud, but he's wearing a hat. And I don't know if it was Antifa, I don't know if it was BLM, but someone walked up and shot him and said, oh, hey, there's another one. And they walked up and they shot the guy. Same way though, I saw another one where someone went up and shot a cop sitting in his car. And that's why
they shot two.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, two of them. But I mean, to date, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And that's why, the
guy was wearing, I think the guy was wearing a MAGA hat, talking about right there.
Yep.
The one that got shot. Yeah. And then there was actually two kids, I think, shot last night. I didn't get the full story on it, but there were two kids. One was 6, one was 9, was shot last night with all this violence. And it was just a random, not a crossfire. This is a random act of killing. Walk up on a white kid, pop him, boom, that's it. This stuff is happening right here.
Let me ask you this. It's, there's a question up here. It says, who is the power behind Biden? Who do you think that is, Brian?
So, and this actually circles back to why you shouldn't sleep on Biden, even though he's Sleepy Joe. You look at the Democratic Party. Number one, they are filthy rich. Hollywood backing, even elements of Wall Street. Because Hillary Clinton gave some pretty intensive speeches behind closed doors. Her speaking fees prove that. You look at Bloomberg. Bloomberg has already said that he's going to back whoever the Democratic nominee is. And look at how far he came and how late he jumped into the Democratic race. It was incredible how much ground he covered. So you have Bloomberg, all that money. You have Hollywood. You have the Obama coalition, and you have the Clinton machine. That's why you should.
And George Soros.
And George Soros.
Which is what Tom says on here right now. He says the hatred comes from George Soros. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the richest men in the world, and he's getting very, very old. He's willing to give up his fortune to get his way. Money buys many, many things, and it bought the Democratic Party. So,
Totally agree.
you know, I think Soros has his hand in a lot of stuff. Then Tom says the deep state is George Soros. Darren says, when did the Democrats become so bad? Were they as crazy around Jimmy Carter's time? No. This went bad. I want to say it started really going bad around the time of the Bushes when they were in office. And then when Obama took over, that's when it really took a nosedive. And Kurt says, Darren Wedlock, I believe they have always been crazy and way out there. Not like they are right now. And of course, we've got, he says, it's interesting to me that Soros is using the same tactics the Nazi Party used. And he is Jewish. Yeah.
Interesting.
Kind of crazy.
There was a saying.
So
There
Dennis,
was a saying back in 1945. There was a saying back in 1944, 1943, and this was issued by the man who wanted to take over the world. He said, if you control the media, you control the masses.
Very interesting.
Can you tell me who that was?
I believe that was
Adolf Hitler
that
himself.
was Hitler.
Hitler.
Oh, Hitler.
Yeah.
That was Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
George Soros owns
Dennis,
a big percentage of media.
yeah, he does. Dennis mentioned who's behind Biden. So what I see is, you ever seen Weekend at Bernie's? Look at that
Yes.
dead guy they bring around all over the place. That's
Mhm.
Joe Biden, right? Bernie. Joe Biden is Bernie. So you got all these puppeteers behind Joe Biden. You know, you've seen it, Rick. You got all these puppeteers behind him. He's at the beach and he's got his glasses on and they're raising his hands and he's waving at girls and he's slapping chicks on the ass and all this other stuff. That's exactly what Harris and Clinton and everybody's doing, playing Weekend at Bernie's with Joe Biden, because the guy doesn't know where he's at. He really don't. He's tripping everything, right? So there is somebody behind him. He's not even a good puppet. Like, he's just a terrible puppet, right? And how bad do you have to be a puppet? Puppeteers are behind you pulling the strings, Weekend at Bernie's. This guy, he's going to do whatever the hell they say he's going to do, right? I don't, like you said, I don't think he's going to show up to because he's going to have this fear of COVID. I'm surprised, honestly, that he showed up to the first one. Be honest with you, I thought he was going to duck out of that first one saying, oh, Biden's come down with COVID, so he don't want to put anybody else at risk. That was my honest thinking. I thought he was going to just duck out and say, no, I'm not doing it. But now that he's got a taste of that first debate, they wouldn't allow Trump to eat his ass up. I'm going to tell you that right now. So Chris Wallace, right, he's in there, and he's moderating this thing. Every time he opened the floor for Trump to come out and do it on his debate, to actually debate. Trump went there with the intention to debate, right? Every time he came out to do his intention, Chris Wallace shut him down, right? Cutting him off, and it was, oh no, Joe Biden. And there was at one point, they both double teamed on him. Oh, well, will you condemn the white supremacy thing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Trump, what you going to do? Yeah, what you going to do? Do it right now. Yeah, do it right now. If that doesn't tell you they were teaming up on him, he went in there 1 against 2. That's exactly, he went in there 2-on-1.
Yep.
And he still pulled out pretty damn good.
Yeah.
He still pulled, if he was allowed to do like he was back in 2016, he would have tore his ass up. And I think that's what he should have been allowed to do. And I think the American people should be pissed off that he wasn't given that opportunity.
Yep.
I want to
And then
discuss a little bit
over.
here, guys, if we can. I want to discuss here just a little bit, Eddie, here. Does everyone really understand the ramifications of what it's going to be like when Kamala Harris walks into that office? Because like James is talking about, like everybody in the chat room's talking about it, Mr. Biden is no more than a puppet.
yeah,
And
well,
I
like
don't know how long do you think it's going to take before she gets in there, Eddie?
well, like Danielle said, Biden's not the one we got to worry about. It's Kamala.
Yeah.
It's all of them. It's all of them, because Kamala Harris is not the only one pulling the strings. Financial support and backing by Hillary Clinton. There's all kind of people involved in this thing. It's not just one thing. All they think they have is a pretty boy, which is not real pretty to begin with. Pretty boy to stick in front of the cameras does a terrible job at being in front of the cameras, and they're trying to push him. That's all they have. Because look at Hillary, look at him. None of those folks, anybody out there likes any of them. Joe, I don't know what the hell people see in this guy. I need to pull this poll up right quick. But
Real quick, Darren Wedlock says
it's more than Kamala Harris. It's so many people.
Yeah, right here. Darren Wedlock says in New Zealand, where he's from, the left are absolutely crazy. Here in New Zealand, the Green Party want no more patrol cars by 2030 and don't want us eating red meat. It's like a religious cult. Can you believe that? Well,
Yeah,
I have
I've
to
talked
be
to
in jail.
Darren and some of the people over there.
we got AOC over here wanting to ban cattle because they fart too much. You know? Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, like, I'm sorry.
First of all, it's funny when anybody says fart. When you put AOC and fart in the same sentence.
Yeah,
I get that.
that's what caught me off. That caught me off guard, Eddie. AOC and fart. Yeah, that sounds like a conglomeration.
Yeah, imagine
I'm like
that.
a little kid right now. Who farted?
Freaking crazy.
Jesus, Eddie.
Then Dennis says George Soros got rich by funding coups. He funds them and then sorts their currency. The United States is his own crown accomplishment. And Danielle says in less than a year. Kurt Martinez says, like the Cloud simulation in 2018, we're going to be stuck with the Speaker of the House. I don't think so, Kurt. I think
No,
if we're
No.
lucky, we won't. By the way, real quick, I just want to let you all know I got a roll of toilet paper with Nancy Pelosi on it, and I just gave it out as a gift today.
Man,
It's really cool.
I'm going to tell you
share
right
the
now.
wealth.
if we-
Share the wealth.
Yep.
I'm going to warn you right now. I have absolutely nothing nice to say about Nancy Pelosi. So if we get on that kick, I might have to be censored or take a break because I cannot.
I'll
stand.
join right
I'm
with
just-
you. I will
Yeah,
join right with
I'm
you.
going to stop right there. So,
Yeah,
man,
Then we got
this
Tom.
is-
I believe what you're saying and have a heart, but the fact of the matter is, as well as we all see, the Democrats will use anyone to their demise. Yeah, that's true. They will. And then we got Gordon on here.
Mhm.
Gordon says, Danielle, he has chosen to be up there. He made a conscious decision. It's like getting into a ring with Mike Tyson. You made the decision. Now you suffer the consequences.
That's an analogy right there.
Yep.
Like,
And Danielle says,
Absolutely.
that's true. Absolutely. So, I mean, he's crawling in the ring with Mike Tyson, basically. You know, because Trump doesn't hold back.
Carry it out.
can I ask a quick
Jump in there.
So she's not in the chat right now, but this question is from she's my girlfriend. Her name is Alexandra Huron. She's a director, actress, cinematographer. She's asking, what are the differences between nationalism and patriotism? And what do you think our current political climate promotes? Is it one over the other, or is it something else? So the difference between nationalism and patriotism, and is there something being pushed by the media that's other than maybe?
I think the media is pushing communism. I think it's communism what the media is pushing.
And I'm going to jump in here real
It's
quick.
nothing to do with being patriotic or national.
Gordon is in the chat. Gordon, I want you to jump in there. You're the constitutionalist. And I'm going to let Rick jump in here also and give his points.
You're asking what the difference is between nationalism and patriotism. Okay. You're looking at a patriot. I'm looking at a patriot with Brian, with his service in the military. I'm looking at James with his service, and Eddie, what you guys have done. We're all patriots. We are all patriotic people. We have our beliefs and we have our morals of how we are supposed to treat each other. I don't see a brown man. I don't see a black man. I don't see a white man in this conversation. I see humanity. I see brothers in arms who are patriots in the cause of being the ones that sit there and look out for the elderly, that look out for your sister and brother who are in need. This Constitution was based upon that. All men created equal. But if we can't live up to that Constitution, then we've fallen well below the very thing that we were supposed to be able to pick up when we signed that Constitution over to the United States as being the caretakers of this, the land of the free and the brave.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That is a good answer. Seriously. Do you guys think the media, which we'll just say, mainstream news outlets, whatever you want to call it, is pushing any type of political ideology, or one party over the other? Is that slanted across the board in any way, in your opinions?
Okay.
Absolutely. So
Hold that thought
yeah.
that Brian said. Gordon said he reserves the right to answer that question on Wednesday's show. Because remember, folks, we're going to be going live on Political Analytical Wednesday as well. So we're starting our 2 days a week, Sunday and Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. So just real quick, just to kind of reiterate that question, it was, do you think that the media pushes any type of political culture or ideology of maybe one party or the other, or messaging? Do you think it's slanted across the board, or would you say it's objective across the board? Like, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Completely slanted. Mainstream media, fact checkers, all these fact checkers, they're all left-wing biased. Anytime you get on like LA Times, the Washington Post, the New Yorker, any of this stuff, and you just go for the fun of it. Look up 2020 presidential debate, and you'll pull up like the Washington Post, and you'll see their fact checking on there. And there's so many things that they say on their page. Trump's this, and this. Oh, this turns out to not be true. But in fact, when you really go back and do the research, it is true. So yeah, they're left-wing biased. They're the media, it's the false media, it's the fake media. It's absolutely fact that mainstream is totally leaning left. I shared a picture the other with Eddie, and it was from MSN. And if I can, I'll pull it up and I'll try to show you. But the format, when you open up your screen, all these little boxes that show you different newscasts and different news things and everything. There was one, it was a picture of Trump right here, and the very next picture was a gun pointed right at his head. Eddie, you remember I showed you that picture?
Yep,
I'm going to have to show you. It's just, that was planned. That was absolutely, I reduced the size of my screen. It was still in the same format. Absolutely planned. Mainstream is leaning left, far left. And I think, I mean, it's lining the pocketbooks of everybody, and folks are making money off of this stuff, so everybody's greedy. They're going after the money, and yeah, totally 100% believe that the mainstream is completely corrupt.
I think the only mainstream media that
Try to find that.
trying to keep it true is going to be Fox, specifically Tucker Carlson, Hannity, and Shannon Bream.
And that's it. Fox is starting to lean right now too. Besides Hannity and Tucker.
I like Brett Baer.
Yeah, and Tom says so.
Tucker
Partially
calls it how he sees it.
mostly true, but the fact checkers are full of it. Absolutely, Tom. And then he says
Thank you.
partially untrue is like saying, as the Democrats do, I misspoke, and we all know what that means. Yep. What else you got, Brian?
Yeah, so just more on that. So since it is a pretty common consensus, at least within this realm, and also, it's not just us that thinks that. And I'm not saying that, I'm not crying about it, but it is. I do believe that the media, Hollywood, you look at all the big time production companies, they are going to at a minimum lead left, and because of that, they are going to pump out a certain type of message. Now, having said that, do you believe that there is a responsibility that comes with that, as far as like, say, so what happened in Portland, what's happened in Seattle, and some of these other cities where riots have happened, and like we talked earlier, last time I was on this show, we were looking at the riots and everything, or the protests at the time. It was protests, but they were starting to devolve. And I said, hey, in the beginning, I agreed. They should protest. They should be peaceful about it, get the message out there. But now things have devolved to the point of, you got a MAGA hat, I'm going to shoot you. You're a cop sitting over there in the car, I'm going to shoot you. Or, yeah, it's gotten to a point where it seemed like rival factions. Do you think that there's a responsibility to the media to say, hey, number one, we denounce this. Number two, it's wrong. It's wrong to go burning down businesses. It's wrong. Do you think there's any type of because I'll say this personally, I do. I believe that. I believe if there's supporters of your party out there, political ideology, people that tune into your show, and they're doing that, I really do believe there's a responsibility to denounce that and say, hey, thank you for following us, but what you're doing right here is wrong. That's my personal belief on it. I just want to hear what you all's thoughts are.
Rick?
I'm going to open up by saying this, okay? We have grown to be a semantical society, okay? By that, I mean, if you want to say the right words, I'm going to tickle your ear with a commentary that's going to sit there and bring about the emotions of what I hope I can inspire within your soul, because I want you to vote for me, because if you vote for me, I will set you free. Now, that's the kind of commentary that you see over and over on this left wing, as far as we're on a watch list, if you don't know that by now. This show, you, every one of us that stand up for the American belief in the American ways of life are on a watch list. It is by Mark Zuckerberg, or it's by George Soros, or it's by any other one of the other left that is sitting there monitoring what we do, what we say. And you can better believe that there are people in think tanks monitoring and asking, what is their next move? And that's the society we live in now.
So I had my question with Biden. They vote for me and we'll figure out this. Or I have an answer to COVID. Vote for me and I have an answer for COVID. If he was really about everybody, why would we have to wait until we had to vote for him for an answer for COVID? Why don't you just spill it now? You know what I mean? So everything's political, man. These guys, it's all money, and it's all about just lining their pockets. That's all the Democratic Party is about. And I don't think it's going to change. Do we need to get rid of Democratic Party? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I can't really think of too many things good that they do, but do we need to get rid of it? No. Should we have a third party? Maybe so. We maybe need something in the middle. What are your thoughts, Brian? What do you think about that?
I think you're right. I think a two-party system, I honestly think it's a broken system. I would like to see more of a populist party. I think you saw that almost forming, and it got smashed out. I mean, Bernie Sanders was throwing some populism in with his stuff. I mean, agree with it or not, he's going to say, hey, I'll get rid of everyone's student loan debts. That covers Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, Antifa, anybody. That's a populist message. But at the same time, it's like, man, I would love to see more than just two parties, man. But two parties that get the same amount of attention, support. They can be Republican, they can be conservative, because I don't care what anyone says. There's a difference between straight up Republican, conservative, and then farther left, farther right. But I would love to see that, man. I mean, back in the early days, I'm sure your friend, what's his name? I think he'd probably tell you there were more than two parties at one point. Yeah, that's a really good point, James. Seriously, really good point.
And what I'm doing right now, James sent me that picture that he wanted everybody to look at. So I'm trying to get that pulled up for everybody, and that way everyone can see what he's talking about. So if y'all give me just a moment and
I tried
the conversation.
I tried to show it to the camera, but the lighting was so bright on my phone, it just wouldn't pull up.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
This is a picture that when I opened up my newsfeed at work, I was like, wow, they're really going to post this like this, in that sense. So I dug around a little bit, And MSN is not so much far left, not really far. You know, they're left leaning, but yeah, look at that right there. This is actually my office.
See, stand by.
It's my computer screen at my office. Perfect. This was on my computer screen. You can see my cabinets up there and my screen right here. This is one of 2 screens. And I took this picture. I was like, you kidding me? Look at this right here. You know, and you can't tell me this wasn't planned. And I went in, like I said, I tried to resize this. Did different zooming on this thing just to see if, maybe it's on a different bit rate or a different setting. Or no, everything showed up just like this right here.
Yeah, and you can see that
That's what it is. You know,
Colt pointed right at Donald Trump's head.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, there is such a
and that's the despicability. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. And what I was going to say is, there is such a thing as innuendos and subliminals. I mean, Eddie will tell you it's used in film all the time, in very subtle ways. And I mean, this is not so subtle, but the point's clear. And nowadays, internet, news stories, photos, film, anything, everything has a meaning. The way things are laid out, the way things look, everything has a meaning. Everything has a subliminal meaning. And the only reason why I'm very film and working with Eddie's scripts, there's a lot of subliminals in there, and you just got to pay attention. It's to the point where now you can't hide.
Yeah, because it's just like I told you when you read the scripts. I was telling you, look for these. You've got Easter eggs everywhere you look. You just got to know what Easter egg to look for.
Yep.
You know, American is a good example of that. If you ever watch American Idol, they have the desk set out in front of them, and they're all drinking Coke. And if you notice, all the Coke labels are face cameras, so you can see Coca-Cola on those labels and on those cans. That's just a quick little thing. But I have a friend of mine, she made it through American Idol, and she told me about this. She's required to turn those cans to where you can see the labels
right
from TV. Like as an audience, you can see it. Yeah. Subliminal stuff. But that's subliminal, but that's the point of holy shit, that's real.
We got Gordon Park. He says, let's get real. Since when has the current America been responsible for anything? The media is perpetuating the fact that the evil white rednecks are going to come rape and kill the left. Responsibility has been deleted. Responsibility is an afterthought. Responsibility is nothing more than the gray line that can be moved. Responsibility doesn't exist. Wow. Dude, that was deep, but yeah. Yeah. I can see that, really. And then Dennis Higgins says, here he goes, the Democratic Party is scared to death. The deep state has never played defense before. Now they're going up against Trump, and they have no idea what to do. They're pulling stuff right now that I don't think I've ever seen being pulled before. And Gordon says, we can't have a third party. It cannot happen. Danielle says, Gordon, not only responsibility, but accountability as well. And then Dennis, he gets on here and he says, of course, we need to get rid of the Democratic Party. They're evil. Tom says, tiebreaker. And Darren says, Endgame is a global government. That's why they want the U.S. out of the way. Freedom-loving people with free speech and guns is their biggest obstacle. And like we talked before about the one world government, remember we were talking about that, you and I, Brian, a while back, and that's what the end game is. It's a one world government. That's what they're looking for. And before long, we could see blue helmets marching down our streets, basically trying to take over. But I have a feeling they're going to be in for a lot more than what they bargained for. Dennis says, we don't need or want dual party system. We need unity, a party absent of evil. Danielle says on here, it's used especially in commercials. Yeah, the subliminal messages. Yep, absolutely. And Tom says on here, young country, it's our responsibility to continue America. Yep.
America.
we have to not continue, not only for ourselves, but for our children and their children, and on and on and on and on. You know, what are they going to have left if all this goes to hell in a handbasket?
And that's kind of scary
Joe
when
Biden.
you think about it, Eddie. When you think about my grandchildren, your grandchildren, daughters and sons, and everything else like that. At the beginning of the Civil War, we were looking at the same type of repertoire right now that they were looking at back then, because we had sons and daughters divided in the household. We had aunts and uncles divided in the household. We had brothers and sisters divided, and they literally went to war with each other. And we saw how that ended up. And I think if this ever goes astray to the point of what that went astray to, there's going to be a lot of suffering. There's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of death. And really, do we really think that our ideology and or our politics are worth that again?
Yeah, very true. Very true, Rick. You know, it's really sad to think about that in that manner, but you're right. And Gordon says, if we go to hell in a handbasket, what do we have left? Alaska? You know,
Hey, there's always Antarctica, Gordon. Don't forget about Antarctica.
hey, we got some alien bases under that island. That's another story for another channel. Okay.
I can't tell.
We are just about out of time, gentlemen. And I think we need to start wrapping up and giving our final words to everybody. And I think we'll call it a night for tonight, but Wednesday's another night. So we'll start off with Rick Warren. Go for it.
I think in final summation, as far as what I've seen and heard tonight, it is very clear to me that Mr. Dennis Higgins is right. We need unity, and only unity through what we believe and what we see in one another, not the color of skin, not our churches, not our religion, nothing, but what we see in each other as far as being united as brothers and sisters in this land is going to carry over to what we have in the next few years. And your vote this coming election is going to set forth the precedents as to what that existence is going to be all about. And I implore you, I really do. I implore you to sit there and get out there and talk to people about voting, how important this voting session is going to be for the existence of not only my grandchildren, but your grandchildren and your ancestors to come.
Amen, Rick. James? Final thought?
Rick. The voting is very important. I think, and I said it last time, I'll say it again. Get out and vote. I'll do like Biden did the last time on camera. Get out and vote. You need to get out and vote. But here's the deal. If you could change somebody's mindset and say, hey, we need to vote Trump, right? Do that. If they want to, if you're going up against some kind of liberal left-wing nut job, it's not worth it. It's not. You're not going to change their opinion. You're not going to change their mind. Don't even try to argue with them. But the thing is, get as many people as you can to realize what's going on. Present facts to these people and say, hey, you know what? This is what's going on here. This is what's going on here. You need to go this way. And get these people out here and vote. If all else fails,
Yes.
Get your ass out there and vote. And go out there
Yes.
to the polls.
Yes.
Screw this mail-in ballot bull. Do this. Get out there to the polls. Do your thing. If you can bring a bunch of people with you, do that too. But grab these folks and say, hey, I need you to commit. I need you to come with me. We need polls. We need to vote Trump 2020. And that is the most important thing we can do. Very important. Get out there and vote. Get off the couch.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Brian?
Yeah, I just want to say, voting's definitely important. It's something that it's I think it's our civic duty that's very it's underused, and yet we have a lot of people that complain about the election, but when you look at the voter turnout, they didn't get out there and vote for God knows what reason. I do also want to say, yes, there's a lot of things I agree with Trump on. There's things I disagree with him on. There's things I look at over on the Democratic side. I'll say, I like some of these ideas over here, Republican side. What I'm saying is, it's important to make up your own mind. A free-thinking person not allow themselves to be enslaved to any ideology is probably the most dangerous thing to any political party that's seeking to do that or divide you. If you're making up your own mind and not letting them think for you, you're the most dangerous thing to any type of tyrannical government. I just want to put that out there. Aside from that, that is why I like coming on this show and on Paranormal and working with Eddie on his films, Miguel Cantu on his films, because I think it really does bleed into those films. The type of person that he is and that you all are on a personal level is the type of person that I'm going to work with in these scripts on these films. And I've seen Eddie work. He's worked with Black people, Hispanic people, Native American, you name it. He's worked with them and he's treated them fair, treated them right. And he hasn't let any BS slide on his sets. Nothing like I've seen on some sets, you'll have someone that's like, hey, you're the good old boy, but you can go hit on all these females and it's very uncomfortable. Or you have some productions that'll say, hey, I only want to work with Hispanic people. That's it. I only want to work with Hispanic people and that's it. If you're not Hispanic, you can't work with me. I've seen that as well. I've been excluded for that reason as well, even though I'm half Latino. That's what I like about this show. It's diverse. It's very open to opinions and discussions. We can disagree with each other, but at the end of the day, we're Americans, we're human beings, and that's what counts most. And on that note, y'all may never let me live this down, but I want to say I love you, Alex, and you are my one and only, baby.
Ooh, Alex, there you go. So
Yeah, baby.
Go,
He
Alex.
sounds nice.
shout out to Alex, everybody. Shout out to Alex. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You're gonna propose to her on here?
You know, you never know.
Oh,
It may happen one day.
That would be cool.
It may
I
happen
like
one day.
that. Okay, I'm going to give final thoughts for Gordon since he's not here. He says, join us Wednesday. Unity is the goal to be sought after. Unity is not a universal government, but rather the sense that color doesn't matter, that the United States is the beacon of light that it was and needs to be again. Unity is a state of mind that we have to fight for to achieve. How do we start that? Vote. Trump 2020. I'm throwing that in there for you, Gordon. I agree. I mean, that was Gordon's closing statement since he couldn't be on the show tonight, but he's out on Chatland. And so my final thoughts, my God, you know, we're living in a time right now where it is probably the worst I've ever seen politically, socially, racially. And, you know, I'm not no young pup anymore. You know, I'm an old guy. I'm 55. But the thing is that we all need to join up and become one. We all bleed red. There's no division between any of us. It's not a based on color. We're all one person. We're all Americans. We're all, even if you're not in the United States, those of you who join the show, you know, some of you are even more American than the Americans that are here, obviously. And for that, we appreciate it very much that you join the show and that you give your input, because, I mean, we love you guys. We
Yes.
do. And I think that's a big thing. And that shows the support that we have abroad. And everybody's aware that if the United States falls, there's going to be a lot of countries that are going to also suffer the consequences. And it's heartbreaking, to say the least, to see that our country is so divided, so jacked up in so many different ways right now, and where we're allowing pillaging and burning and killings and rapes and everything else taking place. We all need to stand up and put a stop to this at some point in time and not let it go any further than what it's gone. We need to get America back. We need to get out and vote. We need to vote Trump 2020, and we need to do it without fail. Get your friends and family out there. Give people rides if you have to. But let's get everybody out there that we can to vote. We need to keep America great, because if we let this go to the Democratic side this time, I'm telling you, the consequences are going to be felt for generations. And we are going to lose the Constitution of the United States. And who knows what we're going to end up with. So vote, 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 please. And with that, I want to tell everybody I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate it very much. And we appreciate you getting out and joining us each and every week. Now, remember, 2 times a week. So it's going to be Sundays, 8 p.m. Central, and Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 2 times a week, all the way through the election. And election day, actually, election evening, we're going to go live, and we're going to stay live as long as we can. And hopefully we'll see an outcome. I don't think we will for whatever reason, but I think we're going to give it a try and see what happens that night. But please get out there and vote. Remember, we love you. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your family. Don't put up with any of this bull crap that's going on, and don't listen to any of the crap that's being said right now. Remember, there's only one way to do this properly, and we all need to jump in and save the United States of America as we know it. God bless you all.
Good night, guys.
Peace
Thank
out,
you,
guys.
Brian. Thank you,
Thank you.
James.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.